Okay, now tonight I shall attempt to break the barriers of my dimension fabrics of reality by explaining what lies beyond our universe and into the next Big Bang, and even beyond that by explaining the multi-dimensional evolution of the universe. Since I don't want to lose my place, I shall start at the beginning. The first dimension was a dimension before time, before the physical universe took shape, that some have called the primordial void. Particles sat in a spaceless blank region, separated far from each other, without charge, without shape. They were the remnant particles ejected from existence that had been projected at speeds beyond the speed of light and thus beyond the barriers of the universe and into this spaceless void. Then came the moment of the first fusion of matter. Within the secular religions this is the moment of the Word. Outside of the Christian religions this is the moment when a being or deity first willed the universe into creation. Regardless of the exact description of this source, for mathematical purposes we shall refer to this source as a positive charge projected from within some point in existence. This Higgs boson photon-based charge fused the first particles of the universe together with the force of kinetic vibration. The one fundamental force that is present and a balanced equal part of every single object within and beyond the solid particle universe, kinetic force. It applies to all fields of the four known particle forces that control the shape and formation of every single object, the very motion of time itself, and is present until every object's natural decay. Some describe this vibration to have emitted a sound that could be described in our ability of understanding to be that of Om. This is of course pointless to argue because there was no capacity for sound at that moment, for there was no space until this moment. Then the vibration split with the sudden formation of particle matter, which caused a reaction that can be compared to a backdraft. Then chain reaction of fused particle matter increased the vibrational kinetic charge exponentially, fusing the particle forces of vibration and particle mass that created gravity, and so thus space and time were created as the byproduct which gave way to the expansion era of the universe. As more particles fused, that gave way to more combinations of particles, and the second dimension began. This was the moment of the Big Bang. The backdraft of expanding particles condensed into a single finite point, since space had not yet expanded its borders. This finite point was roughly the size of Saturn. It is my assumption, but do not quote me on this, that the star known as Methuselah is the remnant of this event, for it predates the limits of the universe itself. The only stellar object that could possibly do this would be the object that formed in this pre-expansion event. The expansion era gave way to two separate particle fields and the aspect of entropy as a byproduct. The strong nuclear field that expanded with the exponential increase in particle matter, and the weak nuclear force that is the fundamental force that drives the decay of matter back into a formless particle when it is spent and has no charge left to hold it together. These two forces are the foundations that define time as well and sets it on its continuous eternal motion forward, thus bringing the process of evolution into being. Evolution is the process on which we define the formation, lifespan, and then the process of decay back to a formless particle, which is then recycled back into the universe as it is fused with new energies and new particles. That brings us up to the current cycle or phase of the universe's evolution, as we exist in a third-dimensional universe of solid particles that is governed and made possible by the magnetic force of gravity in the fourth particle field. This is the fundamental fabric that binds together all solid objects and is held within the aspects of the universe within the luminescence field, an energy pattern that coexists beside the universe itself that seems like an alternate dimension. This luminescence field is the next phase of universal expansion that can be detected by our current technology. This field expands into the fourth-dimensional universe through the next dominant particle field, which is the luminous field of the light spectrum, which expands through the total encompassment of time. Here the fundamental fabrics of the first vibrational field and the spectrum of light waves are split into sound waves that are fused through radio wave bursts, and time becomes an aspect that is measured by frequency decibels, and that is the furthest I can explain with our concepts of description, for my mind cannot conceive past this point, for it is a third-dimensional object. I can say that each object's entropy cycle is set not by its fusion of gravitational force but by its decibel frequencies, strength and limits of reach. Some side points I would like to add has to do with the fears scientists have of the expansion crisis, that the universe will eventually expand too far apart from each other so that solid particles can't maintain form and we drift into non-existence. I assure you not to worry. This stage that you have perceived in the universe is a part of what is supposed to be. When that expansion reaches an equal parallel position from a corresponding particle, we have reached the halfway point of this universe's cycle of existence, and that expansion will begin to retract and draw back inward, creating two waves of force that will be the destruction of this universe's origin point. When those two waves collide in the central point of the universe's total mass, creating the stellar object that will instantly collapse from such force and mass into the black hole that will draw everything into it, and the expansion era of the next universe will begin from there and a new Big Bang will occur. Any who wish to seek eternal life and continue into the next universe, this is the aspect to focus your attention on. For this is the event you will want to linger as far away as possible from until the final bits of the universe is swallowed into it and through this event horizon and into the next universe, most likely being ejected from the moment of its collapse and out of the Big Bang that will occur at that moment. I will also add that the cause that I perceive to be the force that began the universe, that origin of the charge that caused the first formation, though it had a consciousness of will within it, the energy that caused it had originated from the end of existence. At the very end of the universe, all things from beginning to the end shall fold in on itself, as all 16 phases of the universal expansion will fuse into one finite point. The byproduct of this event will catapult itself beyond the barriers of space and time, forcing the fields of antimatter to coexist within the barriers of matter that will cause the first formation and fusion of particles. However, the first particles to be present that formed all other particles that exist were hydrogen, helium and nitrogen. The first two are mathematically possible, but it is the third particle, nitrogen, that should not have been there and cannot be explained as for its presence there unless something had brought it there somehow, for nitrogen is a byproduct of the fusion of hydrogen and oxygen, so how could it have been present before the fusion of those particles, as it is a fused particle itself, unless something of sentient will 3D carbon printed that particle's fusion into the primordial fabrics. So mathematically it would not be possible for the universe to have formed without the presence of the Creator. His presence in the mathematical equation is fundamental for the universe to have begun in the first place, logically.